take a look at our basic market that we put together. If we're measuring yuan down here in the foreign exchange market, what is the exchange rate here? Is it yuan per dollar or dollar per yuan? Dollar per yuan. So whatever currency you're measuring down here, in order for it to make sense up here, it's a certain amount of a different currency per unit of that currency. So that's kind of our reminder, and that's the way we've been modeling this. Something that your textbook doesn't show that we did at the beginning, though, is if you did put dollars down here in exchange rate, then we'd have yuan per dollar. And so there is a graph that could be constructed that looks something like this. And if the value of this number goes up, it's dollar appreciation. So the way we've worked this chapter has been looking at the foreign currency on the horizontal axis, which means when the exchange rate goes up, let me just do an increase in demand here to D2. We've had appreciation or depreciation of the yuan? Appreciation. Okay, so if this is going up, then it's appreciating whatever currency you're measuring on the horizontal axis. That can sometimes get confusing as we work through different things because we're thinking of the dollar. So appreciation of this exchange rate means depreciation of the dollar. So we've kind of gone through that. So let me pause there for a second. Questions on that setup? Okay, now, what sort of things does the government do if they're following a flexible exchange rate policy? If the US dollar is depreciating, what does the US government do?
Buys supply.
What's that?
Buys excess supply.
Okay, buys excess supply in an effort to do what?
Drive the exchange rate up. Right.
To change it. Do we do that in a flexible exchange rate system? No. So that's kind of the whole point. With a flexible exchange rate policy, we don't do anything. Laissez-faire, leave it alone. So the first policy we're going to explore is kind of the do-nothing policy. A flexible exchange rate policy. So with a flexible exchange rate policy, government does not actively intervene in the market, in the foreign exchange market. Remember, they enter the bond market to possibly change the money supply to do something, but we're not going to enter the foreign exchange market. The government does not actively intervene in the foreign exchange market to manage the exchange rate. All right, so it is kind of a do-nothing policy. which maybe doesn't sound like much of a policy at all, but it is. So let the free market determine. And that might be a bit of a stretch. Let the free market determine exchange rates. Let me put free in quotes because I kind of caught myself as I said that might not be completely true, maybe for a couple different reasons. Does anything come to mind for that, for you guys, on why the market might not be truly free? As I say, let the free market determine exchange rates. What would make it not so free?
Other countries are pursuing the opposite of what we're doing.
Okay, good. So if there's other countries that are managing the exchange rate, then we're subject to whatever they're doing, in a sense. So yeah, that was one thing that comes to mind. So I put free here. Note, if other countries are intervening, then it ain't real free. I better put that in quotes. And it ain't real free. But we're not looking to correct their actions. We're just letting it go. Anything else come to mind that the market may not be completely free? If the government is pursuing other monetary policy and they've decided that they wanted to increase the money supply to keep interest rates low, not necessarily to affect the exchange rate, but pursuing other policy to keep interest rates low, will that have any indirect effects on the foreign exchange market?
Yeah, there'll be inflation, so interest rate parity or...
Okay, yeah, good. So yes, there might be some effects that way through influencing interest rates and interest rate parity, so there might be something that kind of back channels in that way. And then also, if there's just, one of the formulas we put on the board was the relationship of the price level. And so if we're pursuing expansionary monetary policy, there's going to be more dollars floating around causing inflation. But just the fact that there's more dollars means there could be an influence here on the foreign exchange market, even though it's a subset of those dollars. These are, again, the dollars. What makes it the foreign exchange market is that this is the amount of dollars that are being used for imports and exports, right? For the foreign exchange market, a smaller subset of the currency. So I think a fair note number 2 would be the foreign exchange market is influenced indirectly by changes in the money supply. Even if the intent of those changes was for other reasons, i.e., pursuing some domestic policy. like lowering interest rates. All right, so the history of how exchange rates and the money supply came to be is kind of interesting. So I got a couple videos queued up to kind of set the stage for two different things. One, the United States being on a gold standard and what that meant for the money supply and then exchange rates. And then we've got another one that's going to look at other currencies fixing themselves to the exchange rate, but we'll kind of do a little talk in between. So this first one, so some of this chapter talks about the gold standard, and so I'd like you to have an idea of what the gold standard meant. And so we're going to go to a little video from Uncle Milty here, about 8 minutes long.
It's a process that even today, few bankers understand.
If you ask an individual banker whether he creates money, he'll look at you as if you're mad. Of course not. I don't create money. All I do is I accept deposits from my customers. I put a little of that deposit in the vault as a reserve, and I lend the rest out. I don't create money. From the point of view of the economist, the situation is very different. As I've explained earlier, most of the